our next guest is Chrystal Giles, and she is a middle grade author, and her book is called Listen to the Girls. We have some trivia about her book as well. So, Crystal, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for being here.
And you are joining us from where?
I am in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, there's my people are from North Carolina, so
Okay,
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I got lots of roots there. Lots of my daughter went
Awesome.
to Central, which is
Okay.
Durham, and my sister went to Bennett. My brother-in-law went to A&T,
Oh,
and
wow.
my dad
So,
went to Central before when it wasn't called Central. It was called North Carolina College when he
I
went.
love that. So you do have deep
Yeah,
roots.
my
Yeah.
both my mother and my father from North Carolina.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. So, tell us about being a middle grade author. What made you decide middle grade is where I want to focus on?
Yeah, so to be honest, I started with picture books. And so writing is a bit of a second career for me. And I did not really come to writing for children until my son was born. He is almost 11, so it's been about 10 years or so. And to be honest, at that time, I just did not see enough books that reflected his life, my life, and our family. And so I started looking for books. I couldn't find exactly what I wanted. And so I just started writing picture books in the way that I wish they existed. And so I wrote some were good, some were not very good. But some ideas stuck with me, and I realized I had a lot more to say and I needed more space. So I decided to take one idea in particular and fold it into a middle grade novel to give me a bit more space on the page, and space to explore the topics that I wanted to. And that first book was my debut novel called Take Back the Block. And it was really directly inspired by the things happening in my city. And it gave me space to give my characters voice, and to discuss some topics that I wanted to discuss.
like the fact that you were intentional about the grade level and age level that you wanted to target. I think sometimes people think about little children or they think about teenagers, like older teenagers, but that middle grade age bracket is a very pivotal time in kids' lives. And so it's good to have more stories that reflect their experiences.
I agree completely. Too often, this age range is kind of skipped, like you just said. I became a reader when I was in this age range. I loved books as like a 10-year-old. And so I would go to the public library, I would get a stack of books, and I remember those moments of being like 10 and reading. And my love of reading came at that age. And so it is intentional. And I've just grown to love the age range. I've grown to love the students when I get to talk to them. It's just my favorite age to write for.
Yeah. Um, the word pivotal that Rhonda used was the word that was in my mind too, because if you miss them or if you don't capture their attention in middle school, you lose them. That's the bridge between the elementary and high school. And normally, if they don't get traction in middle school, they won't do well in high school.
Right.
It really is the pivotal bridge. Those 3 years are really pivotal. So, and having some reading material that's relevant is part of it.
I agree totally. I write contemporary realistic fiction. And so I tell all of the students that I write for, I'm trying to capture you, your life, your aunties, your sisters. And if they do not sound like people you know, if my characters do not remind you of people, then I got it wrong. So I try very hard to make sure I tap into what they like, maybe what they're interested in, maybe the things that they don't know they're interested in. But I try to pull them in with language and voice that they relate to, and some fun stuff too. But to your point, often if you can hook them early, they'll stick with you. And so that's the goal.
Yeah, I wanted to refer to one of the questions that someone had online, and it could be relevant to your book too. They ask the major minor books and such as where do we order copies for our store. Normally for these books are by the big publishers, and normally for that you go through a distributor. So the one that we use, our company uses, is Ingram. That's who we've been using for 25 years. But
I did put her website in the chat though. So if you want to try to reach out through the website, she may be able to point you in the right direction. But since that book is with a major publisher, Gwen's right, that may be the best place to go through is through that publisher or
right,
through one of
or
the
through
distributors.
Ingram or the
Yeah,
publisher. But the thing about Ingram, you can order any book from any publisher.
Mhm.
right, that's true.
And whereas if you go to the publisher, you can only get their books. So that's the difference. And so you can't mix other titles or other publishing houses works with an order. Um, so you do get a better price with a publisher normally, a better discount. But you have to weigh it all when you have a store. And I'm assuming that they do have a store because it's called Major Minor Books and such. So they're new to the show because I don't remember seeing them post before. So or comment before. So now your new book is called Listen to the Girls, and this came out May 5th, which was
Yes.
last 2 weeks ago. And tell us what this is about.
I love the
Okay.
title, by the way.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, you want to go ahead?
No, I just said I love the title.
Oh, yes. Okay, so listen to the girls. Before I give you, I will tell you, I write about real topics, right? I said that. So this book is my third novel, and it is for readers 10 plus, perfect for middle schoolers, and it approaches a tough topic, right? So the main character is Calla. She is approaching the very end of her seventh grade year. She's excited for summer break to hang out at the pool with her friends. And on the very last day of school, rumors start to swirl about her favorite teacher. And the
Mm,
rumors are that he has had some inappropriate behaviors with female students, and she is confused. She doesn't know what's true. She feels a little bit uncomfortable because this is her favorite teacher and she admires him, but she's also aware that everyone is talking about it and the source of the information feels real, but she doesn't know what to do. So this topic in the book is it's a real life topic. And so we follow her through the story on her discovery of truth. Um, and her and her friends also create a bit of a platform to listen to the girls' stories. And so the title is indicative of listening to the girls, which I think is also a call to action, but it's also tied into the plot as well.
Okay, so it's referring to if the girls tell you something is happening, something is wrong, something is going on, listen to them.
It is that, in the context of the story, it is everyone's voice deserves to be listened to, right? Everyone should have a safe place or be a safe place to listen to other people. And so in this story, Calla decides to try to be a safe place. Throughout the plot, she realizes that she also has a story to tell as well. And so I guess the general idea that I want readers to hear and to take away is if you have something to say, find a person who will listen. If someone comes to you with something to say, try to be a safe place for them as well. And so that call to action is really about safety and showing up for our people. And so that's the general idea of the title itself.
Okay.
I, I like it because and the underlying message I'm hearing is just voice. People have a voice, encouraging people and encouraging young girls to use their voice because sometimes a young girl, especially a young black girl, can be shouting out and nobody hears her. They just hear a person shouting, but they're not hearing what she's actually saying.
Absolutely. And the support. So the book goes a little bit deeper, really age appropriate depth, but it does go deeper into what grooming is. It goes deeper into what it means to feel uncomfortable, what it means to not be sure what to say and when to say it. And so to your point, sometimes, our girls are speaking and they are being ignored. And so that's also kind of touched on in the book. And then sometimes they want to speak and they don't feel like they have a place to go where they'll be listened to or heard or believed. And so all of that kind of is addressed in the book as well, and some age appropriate conversations around what's appropriate, what's not, um, what we should be alerting our adults about, and things that may seem uncomfortable. I really wanted to touch on the nuance of what do we do when we feel uncomfortable, right? Let's not tuck it in, right? Let's not hide it. Let's talk out. Let's speak out a little bit about it. Find a safe person to talk to. And so the book addresses that.
Love that.
So does your character reach out to adults, or does she discuss it with her fellow classmates?
So initially, she kind of tucks it in, right? And so she's going through this emotional struggle. And so the book really does go through her emotional arc of realization. There is a kind of third party adult in the book that she gets some information from. And she's kind of a safe person, but she doesn't really clue her into everything that she realizes throughout the story. And then she does have a safe community around her. Um, I'm very particular when writing for Black children to make sure they have support. And so all of my stories, they tackle real topics, but they also have people there in the form of mentors and parents and family and friends who support. And so in this book, I bolster the main character, Calla, with as much support as I can. So she has two best friends. They hang out, they talk, they share information. She has an older brother that she eventually gets to confide in, and then she also has her parents. So she has a ton of support, but initially she turns inward, which is what I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of adults do that.
Yes. And so a lot of children or adults will keep things to themselves for years.
One
Uh,
of my inspirations really was a situation I had as a seventh grader, just like Kala. I was not harassed by an adult, but I was harassed by a peer and someone I thought was a friend. And to that point, I didn't tell anyone. I was ashamed and embarrassed, and I thought, oh no, it'll be my fault. Back then, if you got attention from boys, you were fast. And so I was like, no, 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 I can't be that. And so a lot of those emotions actually I folded into the story because too often that's what happens. You just say, "Oh no, I don't have a great way to say this. I'm not sure what to say. I'm not sure how people will feel, so I'll tuck it in." And so, one of the reasons that I wrote this story inspired by that, but also inspired by the large number of cases in my own school district of inappropriate conduct with teachers, coaches, clergy. I think we all watch the news and we know how often it happens. Too often, though, we aren't talking about it with our young people to say this is what we should be looking out for, and how to tap into the language, because oftentimes we just don't have the language.
yeah, some people get some predators or people with predatory behavior that are in positions where they are connected with or coaching uh, children. Sometimes they will go for years doing that before it comes out. Like what happened with that gymnastics coach
Hmm. Hmm.
um, that
Yeah, yeah.
uh, was
You're
Gabby
talking
and
about the
her
U.S.
when that
gymnastics
Yes.
team.
yeah, it was the U.S. gymnastics team, but it wasn't Gabby. It was Simone. It
Hmm.
was after Gabby Douglas, I think. But anyway, that coach and on that particular coaching facility is in the Houston area where I live.
Okay.
And so he had been doing that for years, but because he was known as such a good coach that coached people to the Olympics,
Right.
people either the girls didn't tell, and I think that's what they said they didn't tell.
Hmm.
The parents
I
didn't tell.
watched, I actually watched a documentary on him, and I probably read and did a whole lot of research in general, but one of the points is that they didn't tell, or they weren't sure that it was inappropriate.
Hmm.
Sometimes you don't know. Our young
Right,
people, they just got here, right?
Hmm.
If they haven't
right.
experienced a whole lot of things, and so too often you don't know what's appropriate, or you go, well, that's a little uncomfortable, but. And so the but is the part where we get to have the discussion. So if you know it's uncomfortable, let's talk about it, right? And so too often people just don't know, or to your point, they don't say anything.
Hmm. Yeah, the hearing where they talked about it, I think they appeared before Congress, and
Hmm.
they were telling about their experience, and it's just you just wonder why what what makes a grown person, normally it's a male, but it can be a female too, abuse children. What are they purely evil, or were they abused too, and then they just got on this path where they were doing
I
the
think
same thing that was done to them?
I think it's probably a little bit of both. There are some who are just purely evil, and some just were abused, and that's the only thing they know. And sometimes it's a matter of power, having power over somebody or something. And unfortunately, that something winds up being kids.
Yeah, because children are the most vulnerable. They're the most trusting. They're the most naive. They don't, like you say, they just got here. So it's a lot they don't know. That's why they really need the protection of their parents and other adults in their lives.
Yeah,
So,
I kind of I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna just say, I outline in the book. The book isn't all heavy. I promise you, it has lots of humor and lots of fun things happening as well. But I do also outline some of the things to look out for if you're a young person, and what's appropriate, what's not. If people are trying to have you keep secrets from your parents, if they are showing you inappropriate videos, or if they're having inappropriate conversations, secret conversations, all of those things are kind of early signs. So that's kind of also explored in the book too.
Well, that's good because any person, teacher or whatever that tells you to keep something a secret from your parents, that is wrong. That's always wrong,
Yeah,
and shame on them. And that's a red flag. But again, children don't know that,
yeah.
and sometimes they'll threaten. There's instances where they're threatened to harm a parent if you tell. You know, so it's unfortunate. But now this book is your latest book, and your other two books, you said this is your third book. So what
Yes.
were your other two books? What were the topics for your other two?
Yes. So my first one is Take Back the Block. This is
Okay.
Wes, and it explores the topic of social justice and change in neighborhoods. So Wes is he lives in a neighborhood. It's loosely based in Charlotte, and his neighborhood is changing. A developer has come in and they want to buy the homes and make some changes. And so Wes isn't necessarily all that interested in standing up for his community, but he does not want to have to leave his home. And so it's an early look at what it means when neighborhoods are changing, what it means when corporations come in and want to tear things apart. So it's an entry level look at what gentrification is and what it means to tear apart neighborhoods and what it means to try to keep our neighborhoods whole. And so it's a deep dive into community. And it does have some social justice bits in it as well. And while his neighborhood is changing, his friendships are also changing. So lots of interesting bits in relationship to middle grade literature. Um, and then my second novel is called Not an Easy Win,
Okay.
and it follows a boy who is expelled on the first page of the book. Um, and usually I get young people to kind of lean in and go, "What did he do?" But he's expelled for fighting, and he says it's not my fault. It's not my fault. And so his name is Lawrence, and he's going through a bit of a change. He and his family have moved to rural North Carolina. And his family is a bit fractured, and he's feeling alone, and he's feeling like he doesn't have any place to go, and he feels like he's losing in everything. Um, and then he finds a rec center where these kids are playing chess, and he finds a mentor, and he finds a place to be. He finds his community there. And throughout the course of the story, he learns the game of chess, which is kind of a metaphor for life, really. But he also finds his people, and he finds his place. And so all of that happens in the context of a story about a kid finding his people and his place.
I, so I really bow down to folks who can tackle these serious subjects that kids go through every day, but you still find a way to make them humorous. How do you do that?
Yeah, well, I'm so happy you said that. I work very hard at it. One, no one wants to be barraged with heaviness, right? And so I don't want to do that either. I do tackle real life topics because kids go through them, and I like to address social and cultural things, but I try to infuse it with interesting language. I always have really, really interesting characters, and so. In Not an Easy Win, there's a girl and there's a crush and he likes her. And so it automatically adds some lightness to it. I also give the kids something to do. So in Take Back the Block, he has a school project and he also has a group of friends, and they are constantly in the middle of doing things, right? They play video games, they play basketball, all the stuff that kids like to do. And then in Not an Easy Win, they play chess, they listen to music. And so all of those things are what keeps the kids around for maybe the tough things. But if I give them enough fun, they usually stick around enough to keep reading. And so that's what I've done with my books to try to balance it out. I I commit myself to not putting like harm and trauma on my pages, particularly with Black children. So I will give you real life, but I'm gonna also even it out, and balance it out in a way that makes the book seems interesting and fun too.
Yeah, you're right. Nobody wants to be beat down by life. You know,
Yes.
they're already
Yeah.
going through a lot, and then you might be giving them a voice, but they want to smile too sometimes. I get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of times reading is for escape or to be in another world or another place where you can think about different things. And it doesn't mean that your life is traumatic. It's just when I read, I like to read about. I love character development.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing, and some authors are just really great at that. So I noticed your first two books had boys as the main central theme, and you have a son. So then you decided you wanted to do something with the girls from book three.
I think so. So between me and my husband, we have 10 nephews. And like you said, I
Wow.
have a son. So I
Oh,
think I think at
wow.
some point, and we've got a couple nieces, but it's way more nephews. And
Okay.
so I think at a point, the boy brain was just on my mind. Also, when I first came into this industry, there were not a lot of books that focused on Black boys. There were some, and they were great, but I thought I could bring the nuance of humor and fun and emotion and not those flat characters. To your point, creating characters is my absolute favorite part of writing, is what I do first. If I can't hear my character voice, I don't write it. So I wanted to fill out the boy voice because too often it's flat, right? And it's usually a singular negative narrative, and I wasn't going to do that. So I think originally that was kind of my goal. And then I just had to wait for this girl to find me. I knew what I wanted her to be, but I had to wait for her to find me. And so I'm so happy that I got to fill her up too. And so going forward, I'll have a mix of boy and girl characters. But even the books with boy characters, there are very strong girls in there as well. So I mix it up. But I am happy to have my first girl, I have to say.
Yeah, a lot of when you have children, a lot of your writing is inspired by the children that you have. It's
Hmm.
just, especially if you're writing fiction or nonfiction, which is the case for me with some of the work I've done. So we're going to do the trivia now.
Okay.
So we're going to give the book away. And the trivia for Listen to the Girls, I had put a sticky note on it, but Listen to the Girls by Chrystal D. Giles. And the trivia is the main character, Kala's mother, Dion, is employed in what profession? So that's the trivia. What does Kala, the main characters, what does her mother do as her profession? And if you answer correctly, or the first person to answer correctly gets a copy of the book mailed to them. And I think, is this a ARC or is this a yeah, this is an advanced reading copy. But it looks just like the book.
It
So
does. It does. And it's really close to the final copy for sure.
yeah. So we're at the end of our time, Crystal, but um thank you for being a guest on the show. We're assuming your book is available wherever books are sold. And congratulations on book number 3.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for doing all you do for Black authors too. I love the space and thank you for having me.
Okay,
Well,
you're
thank
welcome.
you. We really enjoyed talking with you and best wishes.
Thank you.
Okay, have a great night.
Bye.